And speaking of playoff contending teams, we're gonna finish out the broadcast tonight by talking about our college football. We'll move it to a national scale. Our college football playoff predictions, who we think are going to be the 4 teams competing for the national championship come late December, early January. So who do we think? We're not going to pick a national champion tonight. We're just going to give our 4 teams and go from there. I can't wait till next year when it's 12 teams. That's going to be exciting as well. Yeah. So first things first for me, we're putting Bama here. They've missed the college football playoff twice. The second time came last year. The first was in 2019, and they went on to win the national championship the following year. So I don't foresee there being a 2-year gap in between when we see Alabama in the college football playoff. Could happen, maybe, but I don't think so. They're also number 2 in the nation, according to the FPI Power Index. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and put Georgia in there as well. Because the back.
Let's just go ahead and toss them in there.
Why not? Because they are the back-to-back national champions. Their schedule is on the lighter side. They've got UT Martin, Ball State, UAB, and Georgia Tech in the non-conference. They get South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri, and Ole Miss at home. They play Auburn and Tennessee on the road. Florida's a neutral site. So kind of, so those will be tough games, but not a ton of stumbling blocks. They've got plenty of time to kind of get up for those games. I can't foresee them. I mean, there are places where they could lose, but their schedule is pretty favorable for them to be right back in the conversation again. No doubt about that. So those are your 2 teams. There's going to be 2 SEC teams in the conversation yet again. We're going to see the Big Ten champ. That's another thing that you can kind of circle as a team being in there as per usual. And I have Michigan there for me. It's a toss-up between Michigan and Ohio State. The Buckeyes are the number 1 team according to the Power Index. Michigan is 6th. But I'm giving the nod to the Wolverines because they get Ohio State at home and return J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. Again, I know the quarterback for Ohio State isn't a scrub, but I think it is going to be a difference to have a returning starting quarterback than it is to have a quarterback in his first year, especially, again, first-year quarterback on the road, first experience of Ohio State, Michigan, on the road, and maybe the snow again like it was a couple of years ago. That's going to be tough. And you also have Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards coming back to the Michigan backfield as well. So I'm going Michigan there. So Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, pretty similar to what we've seen in the past. For the final spot here, the smart pick is probably Clemson or USC. Clemson is the better pick. Quarterback Cade Klubnik is primed for a solid season. You've got USC with Caleb Williams, although the Pac-12 can't get out of their way. So I'm done picking Pac-12 schools. Every time I think like, oh, hey, they're back in the conversation, somebody loses. So I'm done picking them. So let's get weird with it. I mean, why not? It's our preseason picks. I'm going with Texas here. I've got Texas as my 4th team in.
Does that mean you then have Texas beating Alabama?
No, I'm going to get to that in a second. The Longhorns do have quarterback Quinn Ewers back. They've got a great offensive line. They've got one of the best defensive players in the Big 12 in Jalen Ford. It's risky because, like you said, I have this in my notes here. It's risky because they'll have to run the Big 12 because they play Alabama on September 9th. But I think they can do it as far as running the Big 12.
I'm not as confident in Alabama anymore.
And maybe not. And maybe they do.
I mean, look what Texas did to Oklahoma. I mean, not Alabama. I'm talking about Oklahoma. I'm not as confident in Oklahoma anymore, so that gives me better hope for Texas.
Yeah, I think it's definitely doable. I don't think TCU is going to be as good. There's going to be teams that are good from last year for sure, but I don't think TCU is going to be as strong. We'll see. Kansas State's just kind of always, you're never quite sure what they're going to be. Who knows if Kansas can kind of replicate what they had last year. Oklahoma's down. They've got a really good chance to run the table. I think they'll have to do that. Now, also, I think what's interesting, too, is that there is no really clear-cut number 4, because, like I said, USC, I can see USC losing to Notre Dame and then getting to the Pac-12 championship game and losing like they did last year, which I think would effectively rule them out, losing in that final week. So, I mean, could Texas be a 2-loss team to get in? Who knows? I think the more logical route is for them to run the Big 12, but I don't think the Big 12 is as tough as it's been in years past. I think Texas is better than what they've been in years past. So, and also, I mean, looking at it, ESPN has their likelihood of making the playoff at 34%, which is fourth highest. So that makes me feel a little bit better that ESPN kind of technically has them in as the fourth team as well. So I'm going with the Longhorns here to make the playoff. Likely going to get bounced by Alabama or Georgia, although that'd be really fun. If Alabama and Texas is a fun game, September 9th, if that's a rematch in the first game of the college football playoff, that could get really fun.
Yeah, it could. All right, so my four, let's get this one just out of the way. Georgia.
Yep.
Honestly, I do not see a world where Georgia doesn't get in.
No.
Georgia's coming through an easier side of the SEC. Their non-conference schedule is a walk in the park. No offense to Ball State, but good luck with that one. Hopefully the payday is worth it. So Georgia is in. My second, they're in. I don't have any doubts about them. Is Michigan. However, I have doubts about Michigan once they get in.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have doubts about Michigan getting in. My third team is Texas. I think, yeah, you are onto something there with Texas. Even a loss to Alabama doesn't take them out of the equation. This team, and a lot of people have them on their radar. Maybe I don't think they're sneaking by anybody, but this is a team that a lot of people are saying they're taking that next step. They're ready to take that next step. Quinn Ewers is ready to help them take that next step. It's not Arch Manning. It's Quinn Ewers' team still. So Texas, I think that's going to be a really sneaky good team this year. Then my fourth team, I am going with Ohio State. That offense, Kyle McCord is going to be everything he's advertised I believe. And a lot of people are saying he has higher abilities than CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was a great athlete who also had a good arm. Kyle McCord just has a really, really, really good arm. And a lot of people will say CJ Stroud got a little near the end of the season, got a little too predictable with his connection with Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, obviously that's a guy you're going to target almost every play because of just how good he is. I mean, when was the last time we've talked about a wide receiver potentially going number 1 overall in the NFL draft? So that's the kind of player Marvin Harrison Jr. is. But Kyle McCord, a lot of people are really, really, really high on him. And I think this Ohio State defense is also going to step up and be a little bit better this year. I mean, look, Ohio State was still, honestly, one bad call. I'm going to say it was that targeting call one bad incident. And that was Marvin Harrison Jr. getting knocked out of the game with a concussion. That doesn't happen. Ohio State wins. Ohio State beats Georgia, and we're not talking about Georgia as back-to-back national champions. We're probably talking about Ohio State as a defending national champion this year. That one play changed, I think, the whole outcome of the end of last college football season. So Ohio State's going to come back hungry. They were so close to taking out Georgia. And it's tough to leave them out. And then the team that's like the next team out looking in, I'm going to say is I'm going to say USC, because they might not, like you said, Pac-12. That's all you got to say. But okay, maybe Alabama has the potential to be that next team out.
I was going to say, no Bama and 2 Big Ten teams. You heard it here first.
I think Bama could be there at number 5, just on the outside looking in. Alabama's got a tough schedule. That Texas game is not going to be easy. Look, it was a Hail Mary field goal that allowed Alabama to even beat Texas last year. I mean, yeah, I know it's not going to be played at Texas, but still, that's not an easy game. And then you also got to look at Alabama also has LSU on their schedule. LSU is going to be much improved this year. That's a team that has potential to make the college football playoff as well. And then you still have Texas A&M. If they can figure out how to put all that transfer talent and NIL talent to good use, that's the team to that could potentially upset Alabama. I mean, look, Alabama, they did get upset last year by Tennessee. This is a team. This isn't the Alabama that we have seen from 3-4 years ago. This isn't a team that's got like a Julio Jones walking through that door any this season. I mean, they're going to have talent and they're going to be really good, but I just feel like they could take 2 losses.
Yeah.
And then or even potentially 3. It's a toss-up with Alabama. I just, when I look at the rest of the teams, it's really hard for me to overlook Alabama's schedule. It's not easy this year. It's kind of like that conversation, like when IU fans are like, well, Purdue, yeah, they get bowl eligible all the time. They play in the easy Big Ten West, where we got to go through the gauntlet of the Big Ten East. It's very similar. Alabama is looking at Georgia saying, look, their side of the SEC is a walk in the park compared to ours. I mean, yes, they have Tennessee, they got South Carolina, they got Florida, but it's a whole lot better than having to go through Texas A&M and Ole Miss and Mississippi State and LSU. And look, and it's Alabama. Alabama is a team that's got a target on their back at every stadium they walk into. They're going to get each team's best. And LSU has the ability this year to be better than LSU or than Alabama. So, yeah, I know I got 2 Big Ten teams in, and I'm leaving Alabama out, and that could be pretty controversial. I mean, honestly, I feel pretty safe in saying that you're going to have 2 Big Ten teams in. The flip-flop could honestly come from Texas flipping out and Alabama flipping in. I'm not confident in USC because, like you said, it is the Pac-12.
I don't think there's any conference that's super excited for the expanded playoff more than the Pac-12, because then they'll actually get in most likely.
Right. Well, I
know they're not guaranteed. I'm just saying,
like USC is, by the time that expanded.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe not.
USC's off to the Big Ten.
That's true.
So the Big Ten's going, oh, look at that. We're going to probably have 4 teams then. But at the same time, I think this back half of the college football playoff, the 3 and the 4 are really just going to be. It's going to be a dogfight for those last 2 spots, because even Ohio State has a potential to trip up against a much improved Penn State. Same thing with Michigan. Michigan has a chance to potentially trip up against that same Penn State team. I mean, I feel like you can safely say Georgia's a lock. You can almost safely say Michigan's a lock. But 3 and 4, it's tough. And just kind of looking at preseason and kind of looking at how teams ended last year, different things like that, and putting into considerations, I have to go with Ohio State and Texas rounding out those last 2 spots, and Alabama unfortunately being that team on the outside looking in. And you hate to see that, because you really want to see a guy named Kool-Aid McKinstry playing for the national championship. I mean, there's no better name in college football, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It is gonna be a dogfight.